look at what's happening in our nation, there are, in terms of illness and dis-ease, it's off the chart in terms of what's going on. Medication that is prescribed. Everybody is on some form of medication, one or another. And so something is terribly, terribly wrong. It is definitely sounding an alarm that we've taken a few wrong turns along the way, and we've created this environment of illness. And different people are affected in different ways, but it's something that we really need to confront and talk about honestly and look at ourselves, look at what's happening in our nation and why is this happening to so many kids, whether they're born with autism. 1 in 4 boys born with autism. You know, the numbers are just staggering when you see what's happening. In fact, I understand that the U.S. military has even expressed some concern because in the future, what's going to happen with our military and, you know, in terms of how we view people today, we're going to have to look at people very differently. So there are a lot of things, and when these things have happened in our lives, in our family, I've always looked at them and thought, okay, well, it's happening to other people, so it's happened to us. Now, how do we make the most of it? How do we use it in a way that is going to elevate, in a way that's going to shine light on a bigger issue that we can help heal?
Okay. I think that we need to be more of a community. And that's why the interviews that I do, I try to do them with purpose. And I'm glad that you share your story. I'm so glad. I don't want you to ever stop sharing with us. I kind of feel like I don't want you to stop sharing with us.
Thank you. You know, I've learned at this point now, there's so much of the story and what has happened, and I think now it's just so important, and I'm certainly don't mind sharing a lot of what has gone on. And I have to tell you also, one of the people who inspire me is my client, Donnell Turner from General Hospital. He is so
inspirational, yes.
He's so inspiring, and there's an honesty about him where he is so willing at times to put himself on the line when he does not have to. And he shares his story and what has happened to him along the way. And it's a powerful thing, and I've seen it when we have been at various events. We were just recently in Portland, Oregon for the Human Trafficking Summit there, just outside of Portland. And he is just so honest, and it's rare to see that kind of forthrightness and from people who really don't have to put themselves on the line in any in the way that he does. And so I think it's a really powerful thing, and I really appreciate him and his willingness to do so.
And we appreciate all of you guys, from the actors to the producers and the managers, because I think there's this, what I'm trying to do by doing this, or we're trying to do, is we are trying to change the image of Hollywood. Yes, there are people in Hollywood who are stuck on themselves, but there's another side of Hollywood. There are people who are humble, like yourself. We had Mr. Turner on last month. I feel like he has shown a genuine side that I feel like is sincere and is humble.
And you're right. It is. I've had the pleasure of working with him now going on 2 years, and there is a genuineness about him and a genuine effort to be a man of his word and a man of conviction and a man of substance. And that is important. It's the kind of people that I like to surround myself with, men and women, and clients that I represent, because not only am I representing them, they are also representing me, and a brand that I've created in a town that I have been in for a quarter of a century. And so to have now people, both men and women, whom I respect greatly because of their level of integrity and honesty, those are hallmark, those are staple qualities for me that I very much believe in. And I've always said from day one, there are three things that matter greatly to me, and that is integrity, honesty, and respect for one another. And when we have those qualities and we use, and they are a beacon, they will guide us into the direction that we need to take, so that everything that we do, we can do out of respect, with an intention to achieve great things that this world and this life has to offer.
Yes. It's very true. So let's talk about the human trafficking, because I was going to get to that next. I saw on your Instagram you posted you were in 2 states. You were in Portland, and you were in the other one, Reading.
Yes, we were in Portland, Oregon, and we were in Vancouver, Washington. And and in Portland, we actually flew into Portland because our contact person resides there, and Michelle Bart is her name, and she is with an organization called NW Cave, and they had set up a speaking opportunity for Donnell to travel to a little place called Harrisburg or Junction City. And it's a very small community that has been impacted by human trafficking. In fact, those 2 states are 2 of the most prolific when it comes to trafficking in our country. And so the local community there felt that it was important for them to speak out on this matter, address it head on, and bring in, of course, a celebrity so that they could shine a bigger spotlight on what's happening there. It was incredible to learn what was going on, and to see that this is a matter that is happening just underneath the surface, in not only in this country, because it does have a global impact, but also it's happening in plain sight. And it's really shocking to see so many people that are perpetrators of this crime, not only in the religious communities, in the educational system, in the government, and in law enforcement. And you just don't know where the Trojan horses are. And that was a real eye-opener for me, and it's now something that I am certainly curious about, and believe that once you receive information, you have a certain responsibility. Therefore, I feel that it is a topic that I have to address, be aware of, and make other people aware of. So it is of great concern.
Yes, we do nightly chats, and Diann and I, we just finished watching this season on American Crime. They had human trafficking stories. Diann will talk about it more because I feel like I've been talking a lot.
No, you can go ahead. I'm just enjoying listening to Mr. Witt speak.
Okay, so...
no, thank you, Diann.
Yeah, they had human trafficking, and it was surprising to us, the viewers. There were a few of us that were on there, and we're like, we can't believe that in plain sight. Like, there was a woman, she picked up a lady that was from Haiti. She took her passport. The woman, the husband didn't know anything that was going on. She took her passport and put it in a safe. then she became abusive towards the woman, and then she told her husband things that were not true. The woman was crazy and hurt herself, and she wasn't feeding her, and she eventually put her in an unsafe room and environment. But that wasn't the only thing. There was a girl that was also pregnant and was being prostituted by an adult. She was in one of those child trafficking rings. And then there was also people who come over from Mexico. There was 3 storylines. And there was a man looking for his son, and he came to find out that his son came over to work, and he wasn't working on the field or was flirting with a girl on the field. I forget that part. But they ended up just killing him and throwing him in the river. So it was something that really touched our group.
You know, and unfortunately, all those 3 storylines that you've just outlined or touched upon are happening right now as we speak. Mm-hmm. And that's what's so sad when you really think about it and you take this moment, even when you take in a breath, and you realize right now in that moment, there are people who are suffering, there are people that are being kidnapped, there are people who are being groomed and developed by pimps, there are people that are being manipulated and so bought and sold, and there are myriad reasons why trafficking is so profound. Sometimes it's because of impoverished parents who don't have the means and believe that selling their children is an alternative and a way that can help their situation. There are runaways, of course, and it's not only girls, children, but also adult women, adult men. There are men that are in servitude and indentured servants and have to sell themselves because they don't know how to make or do not have the wherewithal and the means to get themselves out of the situation that they are in. So it is widespread. It is a global phenomenon, and the entire world has to work together. I alluded earlier to the fact that there is something awful and wrong about our medical system and the way people now deal with illness. There's other areas in our culture, and we all see and recognize today, we can bury our heads in the sand if we want to, but there are real issues that are happening, and sometimes when I go there, people think that I'm sort of coming from this righteous point of view, and I'm not. It is humanistic. It is the fact that these things are happening right now as we are speaking. When I stood in a parking lot in Portland after that summit, and I looked around, it was overcast and a bit rainy. I looked at the Interstate 5, and I looked at that parking lot, and my view and point of view had changed. I could no longer pretend or act as though I did not know, because now I know. The information had come to me. So to look around and realize someone could be kidnapped out of this parking lot right now, to be that aware of what's really going on, it's really disturbing. And I think just, from a humanistic point of view, in our culture and our society, we can do better. And I think it's incumbent on us to do better. I think we have to, or we're going to continue. You know, when you look at just even your family, your personal family, you can be in pain and fuss, and there's nothing worse than being in a home that's torn asunder, where the parents are fussing and fighting and the kids are rebelling, and it's chaos, and everyone's unhappy. And there's nothing greater than being in a loving family where people are jovial and laughing, and they have their issues. Sure, all people do, but they have love at the center, and they know that they must respect themselves and each other, and they are in it together, and they lift each other up, and help each other achieve their success in life and their goals in life. Well, it's the same thing with our global family. And so we can be at odds. That's just one way. And sometimes I think we behave as though that's the only way, but it isn't. we can make choices. And they begin with us, obviously, the man in the mirror, the woman in the mirror. Sure, it starts with us. But we all have to make a concerted effort.
How do you feel? Do you feel like maybe the Internet and there's too much access now where it has become more normalized?
You know, that's a very interesting question. I think the Internet certainly has accelerated the way we perceive ourselves and our world. You know, I have taught acting for many years, and I think about maybe, 12, 15 years ago, I was teaching an acting class in the city of Santa Monica, California, and we were I would take the actors on periodic field trips because we were very close to the ocean, the Pacific Coast Highway, and then the ocean was just right there. And I loved getting the actors out of the studio into the real world and observing what was happening around us. You know, rather than pretending to see the sun from your acting studio, let's go outside and see the sun and touch and feel what's going on and see the people. And as we were walking this particular day, and this group of young people, they were under 18 years old, I stopped them in front of a Barnes & Noble bookstore, and I pointed to the window and said, look at the magazine covers in the window. Now, when I was a kid, you would not see people dressed the way that these people are dressed. It was taboo, it was risque, it was too far. Now, that's when I was a kid. So I want you to mark this moment in time. And in 10 years from today, or from this moment, I want you to go back and remember when you walk past a bookstore and see how differently people appear 10 years from now. Mark it in time and remember this moment. And I did that, and 10 years later, it was as I thought it would be, vastly different. So I think there is a natural evolution that was already occurring and already naturally happens. But with the proliferation of the Internet and access, and people can now see and do in private spaces, whereas before there was a really clear line between what was acceptable publicly versus what we did privately. And because we could take all of that information now into our private lives and become somewhat inconspicuous about it and hide behind the Internet and behind our computer screen, we now see a much different world that has accelerated very quickly. Now, I have to say, I'm no prude. And I believe very much in this human form. I believe in our bodies. There's no shame there. There's no shame in terms of sexuality. I do not believe in that. But what I'm saying is that when information comes so quickly, particularly to young people, and they are not taught, or even young adult people, and they're not taught how to respect what is going on, how to respect each other. I mean, look at the way people troll online and the horrific things that they say behind their computer screens. You know,
yes, that's very, very true.
And so that level of respect, societal respect, has tremendously diminished. And so when you lose that, then you lose a sense of care. When you lose a sense of care, you lose a sense of responsibility for your community. When you lose that sense of responsibility, then you have chaos or mayhem or discontent. And so we have to, those of us that are aware, and as you're doing, and I applaud you what you're doing, because you're trying to shed a light on ways to inspire people, to elevate people. And we all should be those that are conscientious should be working towards that goal and unafraid to say what we think, what we believe, and know that it is our obligation to make a difference on this planet while we are here.